Hello everyone, welcome to the State TA Day webinar in October 2020. Please confirm that you can hear me and see my screen and see Karen, Melissa, and myself. Great, thank you guys so much. Okay, we will have Melissa from Clayton be our first presenter today. She'll give us an update on the Colorado Shines rating, virtual ratings, and how that's going. Melissa, take it away.
Awesome. Are you able to let me share my screen?
Yes. All right.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. Can you guys see the?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So just wanted to give you an update on the rating and start off with our virtual information sessions. So we have 3 of these sessions remaining. So one is on 11/7, which is a Saturday, and that's the general all audience. And we have another one on 11/9, which is provider focus only, and on 11/23, which is on a Monday as well, which is provider support staff focus. So these are the last 3. If you guys have folks that still want information on the virtual rating and what that looks like, please do have them register on Clayton's website here. Just a quick update on statistics of attendance. We've got 171 individual participants. So that's the number of participants that have not attended multiple sessions. So that's why we call it individuals. And that's how many have attended thus far. And that is out of 6 sessions that we have offered. So 40 of these participants did attend more than 1 session, and that was majority coaches that would attend anywhere from 2 to 3 sessions. So here is the roles of attendees. So 57% of those folks have been providers, directors, or owners, and 43% have been coaches, QI navigators, council admin, or other partners. So we've been getting a lot of questions on demonstrated competencies and how these are going to be handled with the virtual rating. So I have some information for you guys today. So the requirements remain the same for demonstrated competencies, which including that observations are conducted by a certified observer, meaning certified in the environment rating scale that they are observing with. Submitting a demonstrated competency submission form and copies of the score sheet. The scoring points awarded are exactly the same, along with the threshold. So you can see those there of how providers can get up to 10 points. So during the pandemic, virtual observations completed by a certified coach will be accepted for demonstrated competencies. So this is a temporary approved process through PDIS, just to provide flexibility during the pandemic, and again, just keep things as similar as possible as they were before. We do not, however, recommend conducting 3rd edition environment rating scale observations virtually, just because they are so heavy on interactions and it's really challenging to try to do those virtually. But however, revised versions of the environment rating scale could be conducted virtually, just as we are doing that for the interim Colorado Shines rating process. So since we were planning to transition to the 3rd editions prior to the pandemic, obtaining certification in the revised versions is no longer possible. However, PDIS will accept the observation for demonstrated competencies if the coach is certified in the 3rd edition of the scale, and if the certification is current, and the observer holds a certificate from Clayton Early Learning, and if the observation is aligned with the appropriate scale. So if a coach is certified in ECHRS 3, they can only conduct ECHRS R observations, and a coach certified in ITERS 3 can only conduct ITERS R observations, etc. So it has to align with the appropriate scale. 3rd edition ERS scale training and certification is being offered virtually through Clayton. So if coaches are seeking those opportunities, they are still possible. The protocols described in PDIS for the ERS demonstrated competencies will not be updated to this process we're describing to y'all right now, but the PDIS team will accept this interim protocol. And resources for coaches around conducting virtual observations are provided on Clayton's website here. So our inter-rater reliability team has developed some resources to help support coaches seeking to conduct virtual observations as part of his demonstrated competencies. And then I just had a few updates and reminders for you guys. Updates are on a couple of things that we're changing right now. So ratio collection will be collected by documentation upload only. We had originally planned to call providers and collect ratios that way, but it has been very difficult. Sometimes providers are unresponsive or don't get back to us within their window. So we've kind of altered our system for this. So assessors will provide a standard ratio form to providers after the orientation call as one of the attachments. They will also inform them of the randomly selected date during the rating window that providers must collect ratios during the call as well. So they identify the classroom, of course, that will be observed virtually, and then also the date that we want that ratio collection to occur. The standard ratio form that we've provided just must be uploaded as part of their L3 through 5 indicator documentation. So they don't send it back to the assessor, they just upload it through the system as they would the rest of their documentation. Indicator 2.2, so this is the one that relates to programs and home providers having materials and resources accessible to all families. At least 2 examples of resources and materials are still required. We will accept photos of these or evidence indicating how resources and materials are shared with families. So maybe you're emailing some resources to families now because it's COVID and families are not coming into the program to physically pick up resources. And then maybe you have photos of a lending library or a parent resource library that are still accessible. So we'll take a combination of that evidence if you need that, and are just offering some more flexibility around the possibility of these things being sent, via email or transitioning to a virtual method. And then all evidence, again, for this one must be uploaded by the provider as part of their L3 through 5 indicator documentation. So we used to observe this as assessors on site. Now we're just looking for folks to upload it. And just a couple of reminders. So providers going through a virtual rating can still obtain all the same levels as the typical rating process. So a level 3, a level 4, or a level 5 are all still possible. And effective dates remain exactly the same. So the virtual rating is valid for 3 years as it typically was. And that is all I have for you guys. This week. I will plop those couple of links that I just shared in the chat with you all after I stop sharing my screen.
Thanks so much, Melissa. If you all have questions for Melissa, go ahead and type them in the chat box, please. It doesn't look like we have any questions. If you think of anything, oh, we do, hold on, sorry. I guess I would love more guidance. Hold on, I'm having trouble seeing this. Okay, I guess I would love more guidance how a coach can perform virtual, the same as Clayton.
Yeah, so definitely check out the resources link I'm about to share in here. We are recommending if coaches just do not know where to start with a virtual observation to follow the process that we are for the Colorado Shines rating right now. So we have a ton of resources listed there on how to get that going for coaches. So that is all provided on the website.
Thanks, Melissa. We have one more question. It says, how will providers that had questions during the information sessions receive answers?
Yeah, so we answer them right there in the information sessions. If you haven't attended one yet, we kind of over plan our timing on them so we can ensure that we can get through everybody's questions. So after we share the information, we have an open Q&A platform where we go through any questions in chat that came up during the call, and then also allow folks to unmute themselves and ask away. So that's how we're answering them. If for some reason facilitators can't answer a question right then and there, they will collect emails and follow up with anyone who asks a question.
Great, thank you. Okay, we will move on to our next presenter. We have Sarah Roberts, our coaching manager. Thanks,
Hello.
Melissa. Hello, Sarah, we can see you. Do you have slides for us? I can make you the presenter.
I do, yes.
Okay, great.
Cool.
We can see your screen, thanks.
Okay. Let's see if we can get this. The first thing I just wanted to update for hiring the coaching regional coaches is I'm really impressed by the people that have applied for the position. There's some really amazing people working in our state. I'm really grateful for all of the interest and how people have been contributing to this effort. We finished our first round of interviews, and hopefully next week we'll be starting our second round, and that will take us about 2 weeks, give or take, and then we'll have a decision at the beginning of December as to who we will be hiring for the 4 regional coaches. One of the things that I wanted to do today was to kind of give you an idea of what we're thinking as the OEC about how these regional coaches will be supporting these different areas. For our regional coaches, supporting coaches, some of the ways they'll be helping would be offering professional learning communities, both regionally and statewide, depending on the topics that the coaches within the councils have. We'll be offering reflective supervision and supports through the councils statewide, hopefully, and having office hours for all of the coaches to be able to come and connect with our regional coaches. This reflective supervision would be people receiving it from the regional coaches, but then also coming and being able to ask more questions about how to do their own reflective supervision in their areas. We would like to support council coaches with the development of training and delivery that they have on, that they might have questions on for how are they developing trainings for the providers in their area, but not providing them, just working with the councils and the coaches for the work that they're already doing. We would also like to provide opportunities to observe coaching sessions if it's something that a coach is interested in, and be able to provide feedback. And this would definitely be based on the relationship that the regional coaches have with coaches. It's not a requirement, but something that if they feel like it's both the coach, the coachee, and the regional coach feel that their relationship is strong enough to be able to do that, we highly encourage it. The regional coaches will be working with the EQ Relate and practice-based coaching models to just strengthen implementation. They'll be doing some train the trainer work with the EQ team and Christine so that they'll be able to understand more how to provide trainings to the coaches in the councils. And then again, if coaches in councils are offering trainings to providers and they would like to sit in and have some feedback, they would be able to provide that feedback as requested. And then they would be working with our infant toddler supervisor network through relationship-based training, other PD and other systems of support as the EQI team sees necessary. For how we see the coaches helping the councils or being a support for the councils, we would love for them to be able to attend council meetings just so they can have a really strong understanding of what the work the councils are doing and understand the specific efforts that are taking place already. They would be doing data collection. We really understand that some of the feedback we've gotten is how do we support our council coaches to getting more training if the funding's not there. So we really want to look at what are ways that we can support gathering more funding opportunities, and just further insight about how we can support the different consultative roles across the council. So how are our coaches connecting with other work that our infant mental health people are doing, or the business grants and things like that. As far as how these regional coaches will be supporting the state and the work that the OEC is doing, they'll be collaborating with training specialists and state partners to create more learning opportunities, supporting the delivery of coaching-specific training, like the relationship-based professional development, offering follow-up coaching sessions to trainings that they might have taken somewhere else, gather data to increase the offerings in PDIS through instructor-led learning and with a specific coaching content, to support creating a mixed method delivery models for training, so it's not just a class on PDIS and then no follow-up. How are we kind of mixing these training models together so we're having a more holistic view of what these trainings can look like? And then working with other departments within the PDG to support the work that they're doing. And all of this will be, gathering data and reporting back to me. And one of those focuses is definitely looking at the coaching credential process and the renewal process. So how do we make that easier for everyone in the future? I realize I talked really fast. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. We also just recognize that all of you might have really wonderful ideas that you want to share with us. So much like last time, just have a poll. If you wouldn't mind taking a few seconds to answer the questions, and then that way I know if I need to reach back out to you or if you have ideas that you'd like to share with me. And then I was also going to introduce Sybil. She's the newest member of the state's instructional design team, and she just wanted you guys everyone to get to meet her. So Sybil, if you want to tell a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me today. I come from the background of the classroom. So my background is in early childhood special education. I taught quite a few years up in Greeley. Some of you might actually know me from my work at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. I was the early childhood specialist there. I delivered trainings all over the state for teachers interested in improving science practices in their classroom. I'm really super excited to join this instructional design team and just the greater early childhood community, the passion that I've seen across the state. We're in hard times right now. We're in really hard times and everybody is struggling. And the support and the care that I've seen for the people in the state who are caring for children is just amazing. And I'm excited to join the team. We are going to be moving forward with a few surveys. So if you see something with my name on it or that's coming from the Office of Early Childhood, what we're looking for is to really understand the motivations and the strengths and the values of our family childcare home providers, so we can look at ways that we can support the councils and the other stakeholders in equipping these amazing folks with everything they need to be as successful as they can, providing safe and responsive and quality care. So I really appreciate being on the team, and I'm looking forward to meeting most of you. I'm an extrovert, so I'd love to meet you face to face, but we'll see if we can make that happen soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Sybil. Sarah, we do have a question. If you could answer that for us. It
Okay.
says, can you provide bullet points of what you just said to councils on how regional coaches will support our ECC coaches and council in general? I was not able to capture all you mentioned.
So whenever this is done, I know Monica typically sends out all of our slides. I'll include all the bullet points to Monica for that.
And Sherry, you asked this question. Is there something specific you're thinking of? We can unmute you if you have a specific question for Sarah. Let me just find you and I will do that. Oh, Sherry, you didn't enter your PIN, so I'm not able to unmute you. Okay. Okay, she said she thinks your notes will be good enough.
Okay, great. And I'm happy to share all of them. I realized I talked fast and there was dinging happening, so.
Does anyone else have any questions for Sarah or for the coaching team?
I'd be happy to share an example of what that kind of support could look like, if that would help.
Sure.
Well, one example would be that, in the case of working as a trainer, one of the many projects that I'm working on is supporting one of our councils who were interested in developing training on bias and how that bias might be at play when we're having conversations with children around, conversations with families around family conference time. And so really what we've done is spent some time collaborating, thinking about her ideas, what she's heard within the community, and then using some of the training tools to help develop something that's really going to be responsive for her immediate work and her immediate community. So that's been a really fun project, and it's something that we imagine will be even more accessible when we've got the regional coaches supporting coaches within the councils. So that's just one example, but I'm sure that your ideas as you share those with the regional coaches will really become some of those new strategies as well, because your needs are what they're going to want to respond to.
Thanks so much, Christine. Any more questions for the coaching team? We have a few thank yous in there. Okay, well, we will move right along to kind of just a bunch of updates that our team has to share with you regarding the new Colorado Shines QI funding, that 10% increase you guys got, the contracts, where that's going, what the invoices will look like, and then we're going to talk about some exciting system enhancements we have. So Karen, take it away. I will make you the presenter. And we can see you. Okay, you should get the little notification. We can see your calendar. And you're muted.
There I am. Thanks. Okay, let me get it in presentation mode here, I think. Okay.
Looks good.
Okay, very good. So, hey, everybody. I'm actually going to get to have a little time today, which is exciting. So we have some updates for you guys. The first one we wanted to bring to your attention is that y'all know that in November, our time landed on Thanksgiving. And so in December, it looked like it was falling right in the week of Christmas as well. So as normal, we've decided to combine those two, and then we will have our state TA day call on December 10th. So hopefully you all will put that, mark that on your calendars. We'll keep the same time from 1 to 2:30. And hopefully we'll have you there. So Okay, so I did want to give an update today on contract amendments. Want to thank all you guys for doing such great work and quick work to get things into us, and we turned around and got things very quickly into contracts, and unfortunately they got a bit behind. So we are still, we're understanding that things are getting started now, and we're hoping that you all will start to see your contract amendments going out here in the next couple of weeks. That will include the increase in the GAE that we've been talking about for the last couple of months of the $2 million. It will include the new business rules, which I think you've already gotten a copy of. The increases in the CCQI base funding will also be included in your amendments based on the budgets that you submitted. And we are really hoping that based on the information that you have, even though amendments are kind of held up just a little bit, that you're thinking and really identifying those programs that will be eligible under the new rules. And so we're hoping that you can start that process now so that when EC Connect is updated and the amendments are running through the process, that we can start to get those new programs on board and get those MOUs signed. And that will be exciting to be able to support these new programs. And then we were kind of hoping that maybe today we'd have some updates to share with you on the EC Connect system. But they're still working really, really hard to get all of this worked out for us. You know, midstream changes are never fun or easy for anybody. But we did get to talk with Aaron and Lois and kind of run through what this is going to look like on the EC Connect side. And I think it's going to be pretty smooth from the provider side of things. So if they're a provider who has a CCAP agreement, they will automatically just get the one CSQ targeted application to fill out. So they really don't have to think about, do I fill out this one or that one? It'll just be that one that shows up as their eligible application. And then for all of the other programs, they'll get the CSQI expanded application, and that will just be the one application that they see. They'll check a box for what the high needs population is that they serve, and then they'll be able to apply. And I'm assuming that maybe you guys have some questions about that, and we can certainly try to answer some of those questions. But that group is working really, really hard to get everything up and running. And we had a target date of about mid-month, but of course amendments are a little bit lagging behind. So we will keep you updated when all of that is ready to go. We'll end up needing to just, if you will, flip a switch, and this new process will be available, and we will, and then from that date forward, all the MOUs signed from that day forward will go into this new process. Not really new process, but new funding splits. So before I go on, because I think the next is the GA invoice, what questions do you guys have on this particular process, if any?
If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box, please.
I think it will all make sense once you get to actually see it. I know that Aaron and Lois, and I'm not sure if either one of them are on the phone, but they did indicate that they would be more than happy to set up a webinar to kind of run folks through when we had the EC Connect system ready to go. So if that's something that you guys would be interested in, give us a thumbs up or a yes, and we'll definitely get with those guys and set up a time. And we can always record it. So if people can't make it, of course, we'll send the recording out, and it'll be a nice resource to see the new setup.
So we do have a question. It says, so programs without a fiscal will not be able to apply until the switch date's made. That's correct. We need to wait for these contract amendments to go through, be signed by everyone and effective. And that way those programs without the fiscal agreement can start applying, because that's new information.
Yeah,
and
we're
new in the
hoping.
contract.
Yeah, we're hoping that's, fairly soon. It'd be optimistic to say it's going to happen in November, but it could. But we're hoping no later than December 1st. It's all dependent on contract. We got together with them yesterday just to see what their progress was, and they are just now starting the process because they were waiting on some information on our GAE increase. So we will continue to keep you guys updated on what that looks like.
Oh, and we do have a question. It says, important question. How are you so awesome? That's from Phil. Thanks, Phil. There you go.
Well, it's nice to hear from you, Phil. Yeah, anyway, we're pretty excited about this.
So do level 2 expanded programs have to go through Colorado Shines rating in the next, what their time frame is? So the time frame really only changed for those programs that are level 1. We're giving them 24 months from when they sign that MOU. They need to apply for level 3 through 5 within 24 months. But if they're already a level 2, then they would have that same 18 month. And that's regardless if they had the CCAP agreement or not. We do have some comments about a webinar would be helpful. I don't think, and Karen already mentioned this, you will be able to recruit new programs, but as far as what they need to do, it won't be any different. They are going to go into the Colorado Shines program portal. They'll fill out their application. They'll go to that QI incentives tab. It'll take them into EC Connect, and they'll do that same. I guess it will be new for them because they weren't able to apply in the past. So it will be new for those programs, but it will pretty much look the same. We do have a question about capital improvements. Is a capital improvement going to be offered this fiscal year? Capital improvements are being offered. They have been since July. There are funds left. Go ahead and have programs apply the same way they were doing it, or I guess the council will apply for the program the same way you guys were doing it last year. They do need to be a minimum of a level 2, have a CCAP fiscal agreement, and they need to serve infants and toddlers.
Yeah, and I do want to say we've gotten a few questions, and we fully understand what some of the challenges are. Part of the capital improvement requirements is that the provider get 3 bids, and have that available when they apply. And I think a few providers are struggling to get those bids. And so we did want to recognize that we realize that can be pretty challenging. I mean, there's so much happening in our state right now, but unfortunately, we don't have latitude to relax that. That was a requirement from our fiscal team to be able to offer these grants. And so we will, just encourage them to keep, calling and trying to get those bids. But it is something that is going to remain as a requirement for the application.
Our next question is it okay to send MOUs to programs who have applied and meet all requirements under current expectations, or should we continue to wait for their rating expiration? Oh, if they're waiting, rating expiration is not urgent. Go ahead and have those programs apply. It's up to you guys and your bandwidth if you have to offer coaching and quality materials to those programs, but they should be applying and funds should continue to be spent. We have indicated that we kind of want you to hold off on getting anyone to apply for hardship because those programs will be eligible next month
for the full
when
grant.
funding's available.
Yeah.
But if it's a regular Colorado Shines QI application, level 2 or higher with that CCAP fiscal agreement, go ahead and have them sign the MOU and you can start working with them.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It seems like we're a little bit slower this year than we have been in the past, and certainly we have a lot going on, so we understand that too. But we don't want people to feel deterred from applying for these funds. The funds are available, and we definitely want to be spending them down. So.
And back to capital improvements, it says our capital improvements are still only for first-time applicants. And that is kind of true. So they will be, if they applied last year and were awarded last year, they are not eligible this year. So if they applied 3 years ago and received a capital improvement grant, they can apply this year. And then Stacy Petty says, we have been able to help providers work through the bids. I'm happy to help any councils who want to talk about it. Thank you, Stacy.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Stacy.
And we do have Lilith from DECC, part of the EC Connect team, says, want to remind councils to make sure they're, hold on. Want to remind councils to make sure they check to see if the provider already has a reconciled capital improvement request. Thanks, Lilith.
That's helpful.
For the year prior. And I think most councils will know whether or not they had a program applied last year. There are so few. But yes, you can check to see if they have a reconciled capital improvement request from last year, and that way you'll know if they're eligible or not. Those are all the questions we have for now, Karen, if you want to move on with your slides.
Okay, so we don't have the official invoice going out to you just yet, but we do know pretty much what it's going to look like. So we wanted to share that with you just to kind of orient you to what it's going to look like, and it will come out right after those amendments get sent out to you. So the kind of not so great thing about having to split a year is that we've got funding sources that happened prior to our amendments, and then funding sources that have happened after our amendments, which we had to recognize changes on our invoice for that. So I'm going to share a screenshot of that and Monica's been working on this with our accounting teams. I'll have her walk you through what that's going to look like.
Thanks, Karen. So this should look familiar to you. What we've done is use the same CSQI GAE invoice template, and then we've added these 4 sections at the bottom for the CSQI targeted coaching, CSQI targeted quality improvements, CSQI expanded coaching, and then CSQI expanded quality improvements. It should work the same way where you go into Sugar and you pull that reconciled report, and then you'll go ahead and fill in these, fill in the columns with those numbers of what's been reconciled. So pretty much kind of what you've been doing, it'll just be a different report. You will have to do the split for the served, where you do that split if they serve 3-year-olds and younger, for the targeted CSQI targeted coaching and CSQI targeted quality improvement. It seems like a lot right now, but I think once you have a chance, once it's sent out to you after the amendment's gone through and you kind of can look through it and compare it to the reports, it should make sense.
Plus, this will be in the slide deck that you get. And I mean, we've even been kind of struggling a little bit with, what is, these changes, just because it's change and we have to get used to it. But if you just think of targeted as CCAP and then expanded as everybody else, hopefully that will help. And prior to us having been able to combine all of the funding streams in the past, with this new funding, and it's a good news, bad news scenario, right? Now we have to manage it a little bit differently so that we're keeping those CCAP fiscal sites into that one funding bucket, the targeted funding bucket. So, but certainly if you have any questions at all, you know, your QRS coordinator can help you with that. So anything on this one? Any questions coming in?
No questions yet.
Okay, go ahead and move on. Okay, so we have a lot of updates today. So we wanted to give you guys just a quick update on what was happening with the QRS framework refresh. So as many of you are aware and actually had attended our work sessions last fall, that seems like forever ago, or had coaches attend, and we had a very diverse group of stakeholders in those meetings. So for those of you who helped us get those folks to the table, we really appreciate it. So that is what we're working on now, is the feedback from those groups, in addition to working with SRI, which is a National Technical Assistance Firm, and GPS. Some of you guys are familiar with working with GPS. They're also been a part of this, but we have been re-looking at our framework and starting to draft what a new framework might look like. We were targeting July 2021 as a rollout date, and it'll be tight. So I'm hoping we can make that date. We have, like I said, some drafts currently. They're not really very shareable at this point in time, but as soon as they are, we'll certainly get information out to you guys. But and we're working through that. We've just started drafting the center framework elements, and then we'll start with family childcare home elements here actually this week. So we wanted to keep you updated on that, and just kind of the reason why we're doing this is there was, you know, we just know more now. We're 5 years in, we've gotten a lot of data on what elements are really supporting quality improvement, what elements really just aren't, you know, where those indicators where we have everybody, 100% of people getting points or no one getting points. So all of that was being taken into account as we're looking at this framework refresh. But the theory, you know, the real serious pieces of this were just, you know, really and truly trying to reduce provider burden. That has been probably the most concerning element of the uploading the data, right, and collecting all the papers and the sign-in sheets and the signature pages and all of those things that aren't necessarily true indicators of what's happening in the program. So we're trying to eliminate some of that by either making them observable or making them like questions for staff or questions for families, and really focusing more on outcomes versus just the outputs of a piece of paper. And then really also embedding more of equity inclusion practices. So we'll see a few new standards that are focused in those areas. And so hopefully we'll, like I said, hopefully have something to share in a not too distant future. But it's been great working with this group. They're very, very knowledgeable. They're bringing in kind of that perspective from what a lot of the other states are doing. And then also, of course, Colorado just likes to lead on certain things. And so we're also, you know, taking an approach where, especially on our equity and inclusion practices, we'll probably, you know, be one of the first states that really does a lot more focus in that area. So we're excited to be in this state, but we haven't talked about this in a while, and we thought, you know, wanted to remind everybody that this is being worked on. So certainly we hope to keep you in the loop on this and have something to share in a short time frame. Questions on the refresh? And even if we're still in a state of COVID, oh heaven help us, in July, we could still roll out a framework change because it wouldn't be dependent on the ERS tool, which is, you know, the on-site piece. But we're certainly hoping that we're in a more normalized state by July. Fingers crossed. keep the positive vibes going.
No
Okay,
questions so
move on.
far.
Great. So here's our next big update, and this one's coming at us a little faster. So we, again, I think you're aware that we've been working on the transition from our current QRS system, which is in what we call the classic user interface, to the Lightning user interface. And you may remember we did some like Q&A with some of our providers and QI navigators. Gosh, it's been several months back now, and gathered information on what drives you crazy when you're navigating the provider portal, what could be improved upon, and those sorts of things. So that has been taken into account. And so basically, why we're doing this is Salesforce is not going to be supporting the classic platform much longer. And they've been, and actually Lightning's been out for years and years. It's just that it didn't have enough functionality when we originally built our QRS platform to, but now it has more functionality. So now it's the right time for us to be transitioning. So we've been working with our vendor Deloitte on that transition, and because we're able to through this transition going from classic to Lightning, we've also been looking at functionality and user experience throughout that process as well. So it's given us an opportunity to do some updates based on that feedback that we got. So what, and since December 13th is going to come up fairly quickly, we are working to get some provider supports put together. So there'll be help techs, and we're also planning to do like a walkthrough demo. And people will log in, and it will look different. But the functionality isn't going to be so different that they won't be able to get around in the process. However, we do know that we've got quite a few users that this is not their strength. And so we do want to provide quite a few supports for them. And so that's what we're working on as we go through this process. Not everything is built out at this time, so we don't have 100% of everything ready, but we have a lot of it. So we're working on those supports now. We're hoping that we will get, well, we're targeting a QI Navigator demo and training in early December, and we will get that date out to you here probably in the next week or two. We had a demo this morning, and they need to go back and make some changes, but they were pretty minor. So we do think that that will be a good time. Plus, it won't be too early that you forget, you know, before the system goes live, and it'll be a nice time, I think, for the navigators to get in there and be able to see what the providers are going to see when things cut over. We are looking for 3 quality navigators who would be willing to get into the system and into our test environment and do some testing for us. So if any of you are online and you think, ooh, that's me, I'm tech savvy and very excited about something like this, jot your name down or send me an email. But we're hoping to get our 3 volunteers here in the next week or so that we can get them into the test environment and get them set up in there so they can poke around and jot down questions and things. And we are going to show you guys a sneak peek today. I'll wait and see if there's any questions on this, and then I'll take us over to the site.
So far, no questions, just a few people willing to volunteer. Thank you guys so much.
That is terrific, thank you. Okay, let me transition over here. Hopefully this works. We've had a few quirky things. This is the test environment, so it crashed on me earlier today when I was trying to get it up and running. So we'll see how this goes. And my screen, can I move this? Yes, okay. Okay, so this is what the home page looks like. So you can see it's quite, it's very similar, but it still has a different look and feel. They're, being welcomed to the portal, and this is that little picture that this where they can personalize. They can take a picture and put a snapshot in the system that's of their program. And so that's what this will be when they do that. That feature recently has been disabled because it wasn't working right, but we're excited that it's going to be working well with our transition over to the Lightning system, and they'll be able to submit for approval their pictures and their description of their program, and that will show up on the website. So they will have, as you guys are familiar with program details, children, workforce, classrooms. These were all those things that were kind of across the top of our previous application. Now across the top, we've got our application section, our home section, application section, and quality improvement section. And as you'll see right here on the front page, apply for QI is front and center. And we've made some adjustments so that those level 1 programs can come right in here, and they don't have to go through the full level 2 application in order to apply for their QI funds, but they will still have to do, the QI quality improvement plan and some of those things. So that'll be nice for them not to have to walk through that entire process. But the good news is what they do in this application will carry over into their L2 application. So let's take a quick look at what this, start application is here, start application is here. We've put these in a lot of places so that makes the navigation a little bit easier. And they'll have a level 2 section and a level 3 through 5 section, and each section now has its own application. And so there's less, we think this will be less, I don't know, it should be easier, I guess, to just say, I want to be a level 3 through 5, so I go right here to this application. Or I know I'm an alt pathway, so I go right here to this application. And I'll show you guys a little bit about what that looks like. But first, if you click into program details as an example, please work, oh my gosh. You'll see that it looks very similar to what we currently have. So they put in their primary language, they'd let us know, what types of funding sources they have. They could save the changes here. Same with their program schedule. It looks very similar. They put in their days to and from, save their changes. And as they change these up here, this down here would change to meet those options. Okay, we'll go over to the application. I can, all of these nice little navigation panes will be on all of the different processes in the application, so it'll be easy to navigate. Right now, Workforce isn't enabled because it's not tied to PDIS at this point in time, but one of the nice things we did with this portion of the system is that as soon as I click on Workforce, it auto grabs and auto refreshes all of my stats. So I will have the option to still push the gray button that we're used to, right, to get staff from PDIS, but it will the page will refresh every time I go into this Workforce section. So we'll keep that as kind of just an ongoing, it'll always be the current information when a provider logs in. So let me just go in and do a quick look at classrooms. There's something pretty significant. Yeah.
We have questions coming through as to when the launch date is, and that's December 13th. So we'll be training the QI navigators before then. We're thinking probably that last week of November, first week of December, but we'll let you guys know.
Yep, more than likely it'll be that first week of December, probably a Wednesday or a Thursday. We'll get information out to you guys fairly quickly on that. We just, like I said, we needed to get through that demo this morning to find out how much more work needed to be done before we could get that training pulled together for our QI navigators. So there's a significant change here in the classroom section that I wanted to point out. And again, all of this is like, you don't have to go away and memorize this today, but it's kind of nice to see it in stages. The licensing team going forward will be setting the classrooms up for all programs. So when somebody new gets licensed, they will go in and actually set the classrooms up. This is going to help us significantly because then our classrooms and our QRS are going to match our classrooms and our licensing side. It's also less burden on the provider. They won't have to do this anymore. They will just put in their sessions. They're used to doing that already. So that is a pretty big change that we will see in that particular session or part of the application. So it should reduce some of the time. I want to go in and show you guys what the application section looks like. So as you can see, if I'm wanting to start an L2, I would click here. If I'm wanting to do my L3 through 5 here, my alt pathway here. And if I'm just wanting to go in and apply for QI funds, I'd click in here. And these nice little pop-up windows, nice and big, this will all be personalized with your council information. So if I'm ABC Childcare and I'm in the Denver area, my Denver council information will populate in here, along with help desk information, along with PDIS information. We think that'll be a nice tool for our providers. Get back to again, we'll have, some help text in here. Over in the help section, this is where we'll be including a lot of the tools for navigation. If I need help with a pathway, if I need help, uploading information, if I'm in an L3 through 5 rating, then they'll be able to navigate to this tab. And this is the stuff that we're working on now to get ready for our to get in here, and we will share all those as well with you guys so that you can have a standalone document as well as have it in here. But again, council information will be populated in here along with the QRS and PDIS information, so easy access for our providers to get a hold of us. Let's see if we've gone. I think we've gone in here.
We do have a question. It says, will the old information transfer to the new Lightning version?
Yes, it will. So I should say we hope. No, I'm kidding. We will. We won't go live unless everything is ready to go. But the transition should be very, very smooth because we're not changing data in the system. We're only changing the user interface. This is what the new QIP section will look like. Again, it's not changing. It's still build my QIP, and the rating QIP will be in there. So it looks a little different again on the layout. Add a quality improvement. We tried to make these buttons big and bold so people could figure out. We put directions in here. Hopefully people will use them. We know wordy things don't get read, but we wanted them to be in there for the folks who really do take the time to want to have information to navigate. Here's let's see if we can find I know there's data in here. There's test data in here. So here's what they would see. So they'd see these various goals in here. They can now go in and mark a goal complete. Any goals that they mark complete will drop to the bottom of the page. There'll be ways that they can look at their current or completed QIPs. But the categories remain the same, and the way that they add a QIP remains the same. They can still print all this information. So again, it looks different. It still functions primarily the same, but we're still concerned that, I'm going to log in on December 14th and I'm going to see something different. I'd be a little bit freaked out by it. So that's what our intention is, hopefully to really get some good information out to providers before this happens.
We do have another
So
question.
yeah.
It says, is licensing updating the room information in another database that is linked to QRAS? Just trying to understand why the coach working with the provider couldn't be entering that information.
Yeah, so the licensing team they're working in the same, it's all in the same database. So basically that classroom information just transitions over to the QRAS side. And I hear what you're saying about, it'd be nice if the coach would help them. Hi, Kristen. But and certainly the coach can help them set up with their sessions. That will be the bigger help for them. We made this decision to have licensing do these classrooms because we want to be sure that they're matching. And also our EI unit uses these classrooms as well. And so everybody will have the same access to the same classroom information, and it'll be based on what is licensed. So we're not saying that providers did this, but there was an opportunity for them to do this if they wanted to. So if for example, they had, 3 infant rooms and 2 preschool rooms, but they decided they only wanted to set up 2 infant rooms and 2 preschool rooms in their QRS side, that's all we would have known about. We didn't necessarily go back and match it up to licensing. So this way, everything will be the same. And it'll be a nice, I think it'll be a nice transition and certainly helpful for the provider as well.
And just
So,
keep in mind that this view is for every licensed program. It's not just for programs receiving quality improvement dollars or coaching.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So with the coaches entering the information, that wouldn't work for everyone.
Well, and 0 to 5. Every licensed program that's 0 to 5 will have their own portal as they do now. And that's, even if they're level 1 and they're not engaging in any quality improvement or whatever, they'll still have the option to use this to go in and update, the information that they want seen on the website and that sort of thing too. So that is where we are at this point in time. And of course, we could spend lots of time on this, but it would be, it'll be much better when you can actually log in and look at it on your own.
Does anyone have any questions about this, about the system, or any feedback? What do you think of it so far? We do have a question. It says, how will this information be shared with coaches and with providers? Will there be communication from you all to make an official announcement?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. We're actually going to be getting something out really, really quickly, just as a reminder to providers that this is going to be happening mid-December. And we're going to start to kind of, talk it up. It'll be kind of an exciting new change, and we'll grab a few of those screens just for, kind of helping people understand that there's going to be a transition. We'll also more than likely send out communication through Salesforce, because then we have all of their data in there, and we know it's going to get to the right program. Sometimes email addresses get changed and things don't get out as quick, but we'll do some communication around that fairly quickly. We didn't, I don't want to I don't want to say this in the wrong way. We anticipate doing most of the training with the QI NAVs because they're the ones that actually have the access into the Salesforce system. So what the coaches will see primarily is, those classroom reports and things aren't going to look a lot different. The things that they're working with the QIPs won't look a lot different. But if we have a lot of coaches sitting with providers and helping them like set up sessions and things like that, then by all means we should have those folks join that QI NAV training that's going to happen in December. And the idea behind that is really just to do a nice comprehensive demo and direct our QI navs. Of course, they have some back end, you know, behind the nice pretty pages access, and we want to be sure that we give them information on how to access that, as well as you know, just how to support providers. So yeah, if there's a lot of coaches, if there's coaches that can join that, that's great. If they can't, they certainly can listen to the recorded information.
All right, thanks so much, Karen. We do have some questions, but we'll send out follow-up information. We do have our PDG team on, and I know you guys have lots of questions for them regarding the micro grants. So I'm going to go ahead and have us transition to Angela and Kristen from the PDG team. And who will be presenting? Do you guys have slides?
Hi, Monica. Yeah, you can go ahead. I can present.
Okay.
And
Okay, we can see it. Cool. Thank you.
okay. Why do I always forget how to make this a presenter view?
Top right, I think.
Top right.
Next to the share button, Kristen.
Yeah, my little box for the webinar was blocking my presentation view. Okay, can you see the slide in full force now?
Yes, it looks good. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I will get started and move pretty quickly because I know that we don't have a ton of time, and there's of course always a lot of information, but I do want to just reiterate to everybody that we have made this, sorry, Angela just told me my camera was off. Okay, now we're ready. We're gonna make this presentation available after the presentation. And so all of the things I'm about to review are hyperlinked in the PDF that you'll receive. And so as I move through this quickly, please do use that PDF after the fact and use the links therein to remind yourself or refresh your memory about where different tools live. So we'll jump right into it. Just as a reminder, before we get into some specifics about processes and billing, we have put all of the administrative documents, the guidance around various strategies for the early childhood councils on that Office of Early Childhood website under the Early Childhood Council tab in the PDG 2020 project and grant opportunities section. So anything that we're going to review in terms of process is in a guidance document on that website. So that should always be your go-to if you forget where to access materials. And again, just a reminder to continue to promote to providers that we are putting information about all the various opportunities we have available through PDG for them on the Colorado Shines Brighter tab of the Office of Early Childhood website under the PDG 2020 project and grant opportunities. So they can continue to find additional funding opportunities or professional development opportunities that we're doing through PDG listed there, and we keep it continuously updated. So we wanted to take a moment just to remind you about the business training and consultation. The one-on-one consultation is live. This has been true for a while, so this should just be a reminder. It is available at no cost to all providers and is tailored to their needs. That hyperlink there is to let providers know which small business development center to reach out to receive this one-on-one business consultation. And there is support available for Spanish-speaking providers through the Aurora South Metro SBDC. And that link is also included in that document. Just as a reminder that councils, if in the course of providing this one-on-one consultation to providers, an SBDC doesn't know how to answer a question because it has to do specifically with the childcare industry, or if you've been working with a childcare provider and they say, I need you to help explain my issue to this small business development center consultant, those are activities that can be reimbursed through the GAE line that we have available through this project. And we're going to get into that in a bit more detail in a moment. Again, just another reminder, the childcare business training series are available now. There are several series that are still available. We had one start last Saturday. There are a couple coming up in early November. If you have providers who are still interested, who haven't signed up yet, all of the registration information, when the courses are happening, is available again on that Colorado Shines Brighter webpage under the PDG Birth Through 5, the 2020 Project and Grant Opportunities dropdown. So again, that's hyperlinked there. We are still waiting for information about exactly how the Spanish option is going to be delivered. So we look forward to being able to give more information on that at the next TA Day. And just a reminder that we have asked all of the presenters to go through the training alignment process. So each of these training series will earn the participating providers professional development hours through PDIS. So it's a really great point to sell on. And again, for councils, reimbursable activities and supporting this work would be around helping the SBDC with that curriculum development, if they've reached out to you for that, as well as, the SBDCs who are doing the training, and it's not all SBDCs throughout the state who opted into this, are asking their local councils to have at least one representative available to attend each training session. So those are the two reimbursable activities for early childhood councils. And a reminder is we've now launched both aspects of this process about the billing, how billing works, because it is different given the different line of funding. Again, this entire thing is included in that guidance document we created and presented on, and we've been sending it out with all the emails as each new component has launched. But just to remind you, it's really important to complete the prior approval form if you do intend to ask for reimbursement for these various activities. That's hyperlinked here. It is required for the consulting on the development of curriculum and for the attendance at each training session. And then we budgeted for each council to do up to 6 hours of consultation one-on-one, let me rephrase that, technical assistance to the SBDCs as they do their consultation one-on-one. But after those 6 hours, if you've hit that already, we are going to ask that you complete that prior approval form. And the reason, again, we're seeking prior approval information is so that we know how to budget the money that we have in that GAE line. If it's not used by the end of the year, we lose it. So we have to know what the expected expenses are ahead of time so we can ensure those funds are available for next year. So complete the prior approval form, and then what we've asked is for you all to complete an invoice. It's different from your general GAE invoice. And again, this was necessary because of the particular line it's coming out of, but we've hyperlinked it here. It's been included in the guidance document. I sent it out in various emails over the last couple of months. But you'll just complete the invoice form that we have for this project. It's very simple, and submit it by the 15th of the following month to those email addresses listed there. I want to thank ECPAC because they have been great about utilizing this process. At this point, they're the only ones who have done any work in the prior approval form or have sent us an invoice, which I think is probably reflective of the fact that they had some training that kicked off a little earlier than the other councils who may have been involved. But please, please, please do follow this process so we make sure that we are able to compensate you for the time that you're giving to this project. If you have any questions about it, please contact me or Angela, and I will kick it over to Angela so that she can get to her updates.
Thanks, Kristen. So we have some exciting announcements this week from the childcare licensing group. I've been working with them based on issues that we've had related to the CDA observations. We know right now that, I see a comment there that we can hear typing. I'm not sure if all presenters can mute themselves while we're presenting. That'd be wonderful. Thank you. So just back to the CDA. So we know that the Council for Professional Recognition is not allowing for virtual observations to occur right now. And we've asked if anybody is aware of any virtual observations that are happening to please contact us so that we can let those professional or those PD specialists let them know that the virtual observations won't be allowed, and the council will actually revoke those CDAs. So we just want to make sure that everyone is aware that that's not allowed currently, and that our local public health guidance, or I should say regional across the state of Colorado, is that non-essential personnel should not be visiting childcare programs at the moment, just to reduce the amount of exposure that we have. And because those are misaligned requirements, childcare licensing is going to be granting a waiver for folks that are obtaining their CDA certification but cannot complete that final verification visit to obtain the full credential. And so they're going to be allowing for them to act as a provisional ECT qualified teacher for 6 months with this letter. And the reason why we put that 6-month timeline on it is it's just an opportunity to check in on whether the Council for Professional Recognition will be allowing virtual visits at some point in the future. We don't know. They are working on some guidance on that. Or B, if our statewide guidance or local guidances will allow for in-person visits at some point in the future. So we hope that folks can get their full CDA at some point in the near future. And in the event that in 6 months after that letter is initially awarded, that there's an extension necessary, childcare licensing is ready and willing to do so. So don't be alarmed at the short-term expiration date. Just know that we want to have that as a check-in point, and that there will be further guidance available in a few months' time on what that extension process will be. For folks that want to take advantage of this waiver, there is just a short form that they would need to fill out. It would be contact information and then verification of their 128 training hours, verification of their 480 hours experience, and then verification that they have registered and taken their CDA test. And I'm aware that that CDA test document, it may come in the form of an email just saying that the council has received their score results. And I know that the score results are not actually given to the candidate until they complete their verification visit. So know that it's just a confirmation that they've taken the exam and not the exam results that are going to be required in this form. So we're really excited to launch that this week. We've just sent it out on Monday. So if you haven't heard about this observation waiver, that's okay. We're going to be working on getting that communication out more consistently over the next few weeks. But if you could share that with your local childcare programs and childcare providers, or any CDA training programs that you have contact with regularly, that would be very helpful. I know folks are really excited about this occurring because, with the CDA scholarship program, we have 220 candidates that are going to be completing their training very soon in the next few months, and we're concerned about the backlog of observations that is winding up because of the mismatch in regulations currently between the Council for Professional Recognition and Colorado Public Health Guidance. So I know I'm walking through this really quickly, but please do reach out to us or childcare licensing if you have questions along this observation waiver letter. It will go directly to the candidate, and so that way they can get hired by a program if they're not employed yet, or if they are currently employed and wish to change programs. This letter will help them qualify to be a qualified early childhood teacher in the classroom. The other thing I wanted to note along the CDA program, you can go back really quickly. You'll have to cat out of the bag for a second there. But the CDA amnesty program is something that's being offered by the Council for Professional Recognition, and that's for candidates who may have let their CDA expire over the course of the last year or so, or I think even the last 5 years, I believe. I'd have to check back on how far back that CDA expiration could be. Normally, someone would have to restart their CDA training process, but in this case, due to COVID, they are going to be allowing people to renew their CDA without restarting. So if there has been a lapse in their CDA certification, they can go through what they're calling the CDA amnesty program to renew their CDA without restarting the entire process. So two things that I wanted to share quickly with everybody related to the CDA. And we can go on to the next slide for some other very exciting news. Through the Child Care Startup and Expansion micro grants, I believe a lot of folks on the call are aware that we had about 50 programs waitlisted, and we were hoping to reallocate funds to be able to accept all of those programs. To recap, we had 93 programs apply at the front end of the September deadline, and we were able to admit 32 programs in that first round. And so we were able to get permission to change some funding to now admit all of the waitlisted programs. So that's going to be 50 additional programs that are going to be receiving microgrant letters in the next few days. So you're hearing it here first. And just note that we will be sending out direct emails to those programs as soon as possible. And you'll be CC'd on that if that program is within your catchment area. Every council that has had programs that were either accepted or waitlisted should have received an email directly from me with details on what their project goal was going to be. And so you'll see those additional budgets for the waitlisted programs again in the next few days. So really excited to be able to share that with you today. And you'll be hearing from me very soon with the next steps for those newly admitted programs. And Stacey, I see your comment there. That's great news. We appreciate your work and your support to get these programs up and running and these expansion projects supported as well. So thank you for your work on that. And then I'm just going to go through a couple of changes as part of the process since I've been receiving several inquiries about this. So we updated the guidance for administration of this for councils based on a few questions that we were receiving. And just as a reminder, so this process is also going outside of the Sugar and EC Connect. Even though it's being funded through the GAE, we did not have the ability to do those technical builds for these grant projects. And so we'll be managing the finances outside of that. Again, you should have received those program goals for accepted and waitlisted projects. And if you haven't heard from me, feel free to reach out. That may mean that you didn't have any projects that applied or any programs that applied in your catchment area. Or if you are aware of some that were in your program area and you haven't heard from me, feel free to check in on that and we can go over the details of that. There are 2 MOU templates that are available. One is for licensed programs and one is for programs that are new and pursuing their license for the first time. If a program, applied with a project that they were a new program but have already received their license, you can use that already licensed MOU because they will have that license number. They'll have a coloradoshines.com profile and things of that nature. So that MOU has a few details on what's expected for licensed programs. So any program that has a license already, even if they qualified under that new program category, use that licensed MOU. And then just as a quick reminder, project budgets and expenditures. So we need all programs to spend their funds by December 30th. If they need to change any of their budget, proposals based on the fact that it was submitted in September, it's now been about a month since that deadline has passed, and now that they know that they have to spend the funds by December 30th, if they need to change any categories, have them submit that budget template back to you with their new categories, and then send that email to me quickly, and I can turn around an approval for that as soon as possible. So that we can make sure that these funds are spent before the end of the year. And then that this grant is reimbursement based, again, for anyone who had questions around that. And that there are a few ECCs that are going to be doing the purchasing for programs. So that's an opportunity that you can make that decision for what's right for your program, for your ECC. So know that those are 2 options that you have. So either have them just submit those receipts directly to you, or if there's concerns for the program in terms of capital, you can make those purchases upfront for them. So we'll go on to the next slide since I know we're low on time. And then there was a couple of questions around when to pause a project. And we know that there's not going to be a 100% completion rate for this. However, we can mitigate some of the losses potentially as associated with this grant program. So if it's becoming clear that a program can't achieve the goal that they applied for, whether it's obtaining that license for the first time or expanding their existing project, pause that project at that point in time and contact us, and we can decide what the next steps need to be. So we'll try not to spend more funds once we realize that they're not going to meet their goal. And the reason why we say that is the major goal for this line item within PDG is to expand the number of licensed childcare spots across the state. So if it turns out that that project isn't going to meet that goal, we just need to reassess. And I don't know, we'll have to handle that on a case-by-case basis. So I can't speak to exactly what will occur at that point in time, but we want to just try and reflect on what we need to do based on the case there. And then let's see, indirect rates. There were a couple questions around that. So there was an automatic 10% de minimis added to each project. However, if there is a difference based on your CSQI contracts that exist with OEC, we will actually be going on based on that contract rate. So we'll have to double check with a couple of programs what that indirect will look like. And then the actual amount will be based on the actual spend, not what the proposed budget would have been. So if it was a $6,000 proposal and they end up for some reason spending $5,500, the 10% indirect will be reflected on that. So instead of $600 in indirect, it would be $550, something along those lines. Again, we have a similar invoicing process for this that was developed outside of the Sugar and EC Connect downloaded invoice, and that new template is linked here, and that was sent out in an email directly to folks who had programs that were accepted, and it will be the same email addresses that you'll address it to when it's time. And then just for a couple of folks who inquired about this, it should take about 3 to 4 weeks from the time that you submit the invoice to this email address on when you would receive that payment. So I can pause and take a breath. Tina, I see there's a question on when is the deadline to meet the goals. So we put in the guidance, the provider-facing guidance, that we hope to see movement on that goal within 4 months. And again, if they haven't met that goal by February or March of next year, hopefully we can reach out to that program and maybe work with the licensing specialist as well to see if there's other support that they need to meet that goal. So again, if it's a new program getting started and for some reason by February, March, they're not able to do that, we'd love to figure out why and provide some case management there. And then I see one other question. When will the waitlisted folks be notified? So those programs should be receiving an email by Monday at the latest. So I'm hoping to get those out tomorrow. And then again, if there's extra time needed, by Monday at the latest. And I will turn it back over to Monica to wrap up, but feel free to send an email. I'm going to put my email in the chat as well as Kristen's. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to us directly.
Thanks so much, Angela and Kristen. As always, we will send out the follow-up email with all the documents presented, and the recording will be posted on the OEC website. Thank you guys so much for your time, and have a good rest of your afternoon.